Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. You're in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Neely Fuller. This is Earth Jallo, your host for the day. This is radio the way it should be heard. Oh my goodness, good day. It is a little after 10. I hope everybody has had a great evening, that you woke up, that your loved ones woke up, and that everything is going well for you in your world. Oh, good day, good day. This is Wednesday. All right. And it is the 23rd of April. This year is flying by. I'm just telling y'all what, we are going to be looking at December before we know it again in the cold. Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. Today, we're just going to have the same discussion that we have with Mr. Fuller so we can get a clear and concise concept of this, white supremacy and what's going on and how we got into the situation and how we can potentially pull ourselves out. Good day to you, Mr. Fuller. How are you today?
I'm still learning.
Sound fantastic as always. I love that. I love that. You know, I started saying that to people when they ask me, how are you today? And I say, hey, I'm still learning. I love that. Okay. I had a couple of questions, just to, kick it off, get us started. First of all, I'd like you to tell people where they can pick up your book. I had someone actually call into my show last week, Mr. Fuller, and they wanted to know where they could pick up your book because they had been trying to get it. And I had just spoken with you, and you had said that there was a problem on the website and that it was unavailable at the time. Is it now available again? And if it is, can you tell the people how they can get it?
Temporarily, it's just out of stock.
Okay.
And so they can go to Produce Justice in about 7 to 10 days. Go to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And what will come up is a sort of like a billboard for the basic book, the textbook for victims of white supremacy. And then there's a word guide. That's a counter-racist word guide. That's an addition to the basic book. But they will be there in about 7 to 10 days. I've just had a little supply problem here.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like a good supply problem, though. Most authors want to have that problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Mr. Fuller, I just wanted to shoot some things at you today. I had been looking at my Facebook feed, and it's quite disturbing. I don't get on as often as I used to because it's not holding my attention anymore. And but what I did see was the fact that and I don't watch these shows, just so that you know. Well, I don't watch the shows, but, during the Facebook feed, you can kind of like figure things out, what's going on in the world. And they have, black women. That's my thing, black women and children. And hold on, before I get all into that. We have a caller. Caller, you're on the air with Mr. Neely Fuller.
Yes. I'm trying to find me a good space where I can talk. I'm in the building right now. But I wanted to let Mr. Fuller know that he's really helped me a great deal, listening at his archives over the years and also reading his book. And I think that if I had a question to ask him, I would ask him if we eliminated racism from the planet, how would that affect us when we still have religion, organized religion?
Mm.
Oh, well, religion is not a problem. It's just what does a religion do? A religion, just by definition, according to what I've written, a religion is just a strong belief backed up by action. Now, people are on the planet, so therefore they have beliefs, and they back up their beliefs with action. So everything in the universe among people is supposed to be either correct or incorrect, constructive or non-constructive. There's no in-between. So whatever religion or philosophy or you might say custom, whatever practices, habits that people have, they fall in the constructive or the non-constructive category. And religion is just a label for constructive or non-constructive activity. It's going to be one or the other. There's no such thing as an in-between. every move that a person makes all day long, wherever that person is on the planet, regardless of who that person is, every move that an individual person makes is going to either be in the constructive or the non-constructive category. Everything that you say is going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. And that's the main thing to remember. And in my way of thinking, in my opinion, we should be trying to guide people to be what I call universal man and universal woman. In other words, people who are completely in tune with the most constructive things in the known universe. That should be our goal. That should be the goal of everybody on the planet. And that might have been the goal in the very beginning, but things got derailed big time, and they have been derailed ever since. There's no place on the planet where people are the quality of people that people should be. There are people who are trying. There are people who come close. But generally speaking, this planet and the people in it is kind of messed up. Compared to what? Compared to what it ought to be. It's nowhere close to being what it ought to be. Nowhere in that neighborhood, no place on the planet is anywhere close to what it ought to be. And what should it be? It should be, first of all, among people, there should be a thing called justice. And justice, of course, according to what I have written, since there's no legal definition for the word justice, I say justice comes in two parts: guaranteeing that no person is mistreated, and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, that would apply to any area of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, what you just named, sex, and war. And in any of those areas of activity, whatever a person is doing, if a person is engaging in a sexual activity, the question is this constructive or is it non-constructive? There's no such thing as in between now. Can't start chopping it up and whatnot. It's going to either be constructive or non-constructive. Every sexual act between any people, anywhere, at this moment while we're talking, if a people say that they're religious people, okay, let's look at your religion. Is it constructive or non-constructive? Are people being mistreated in your religion? Are people getting the constructive help that they need in your religion? If not, maybe you better examine your religion.
Wow. Wow. And that's something. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to say that isn't religion and logic at two opposite ends? Because your philosophy is based on using logic, and when I use logic, I have a problem defining and really dealing with religion.
Well, here again, it comes to definition. See, that's why I have a word guide out there. When anybody mentions a word, the first thing you want from that person is, what are they talking about? Meaning, give me a definition for what you're talking about so we can start off in a way that you're not going to wind up having confusion. And apparently, there's a lot of confusion around the word religion and all the different religions that people have. So the first thing you want to get rid of in communications, any kind of communications, two people talking to each other, the first thing you want to get rid of is confusion. And in order to get rid of confusion, you have to have definitions for the words that you're using when you're having a conversation. And when people start saying, well, religion has messed up the world, or religion is a good thing, or religion is a bad thing, first of all, before we start talking about religion, let's define what it is so that we'll be on that page. Otherwise, we're starting off with confusion. And if you start off with confusion, you most likely will wind up with confusion. After talking for 40 days and 40 nights, you just wind up fighting each other about what you're talking about. And you haven't even begun the discussion.
Right. But what do you do when a person says, well...
When a person approaches you, one thing that I say about the way I approach religion in a compensatory way, based on the title of the book, United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, and if a person mentions religion to me, I'll say, okay, what is your religion? And what is the name of your religion? It's just three things that I ask, and that's really all I want to know. What's the name of your religion, sir? What's the name of your religion, ma'am? Okay? Because most religions have names. And then let the person give me the name of the religion, because that's the first thing you want to get straight, so you don't misname the religion. You might make somebody angry just on that. Okay. Then the second thing, it's just three things. Going to the second thing. What does your religion, that's the person that has the religion, what does your religion require you to do in 9 areas of activity? Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, other people's religions. In other words, how does your religion relate to other people's religions that are different from yours? I want to know that. And then the 8th area of activity that comes next, sex. What does your religion say that you are supposed to be doing and not supposed to be doing when it comes to sex? I want to know that. Sex is very important. So let's nail that down, okay? And then the last one, the 8th area, war. What does your religion say that you should do and what you should not do when it comes to war? People fighting, people killing each other. What does your religion say? Not my religion, not the other fellow's religion. What does your religion say that you are supposed to do? Now, that's number 2. Then we go to number 3. And this is the clincher. What does your religion tell you to do when you interact with me? Because my religion may not be the same as yours, or my views on religion, or I may not even have what you call, in classic terms, a religion. So I want to know how you're going to relate to me. And this is what I advise everybody to do when they start talking about religion. Ask those 3 questions. See, these are questions. They're not statements. When you start making statements about people's religions, you immediately get into trouble.
But, Mr. Fuller, what happens when you ask a person a question and they start off with, my definition is? That happens a lot with me. They didn't create the word, but they will have their own definition of what you're talking about. And I find problems with that because if I have a definition that I'm working with, and then the person says, well, that's not what it means, how do you go any further with a person? Because if they say, well, my definition of religion is, and it's something totally different from what I'm looking at, then how can you go any further?
Okay, I'm going to answer that question. That's exactly why I said what you do, because I found that out a long time ago by listening to people sitting around in the barbershop where you got a lot of religious arguments in black barbershops that just go on ad infinitum. They go on and on and on. People start off talking about what Ezekiel said and what Adam and Eve did or didn't do, or what the woman at the well said and whatnot, and what the New Testament means and what the Old Testament means, and it just goes on and on and on, and they get into long shouting matches about it, and nothing is ever resolved. But see, compensatory logic is about coming to conclusions, not just having endless arguments, and trying to be constructive, because you got to be constructive. You're talking to people about anything that when it comes to settling whatever the talk is supposed to be about, you're supposed to have a constructive result. Otherwise, there's no logical reason for talking about anything.
Absolutely.
If you're not going to have a constructive result. So, I'm saying if you try this approach, don't try to tell people what their religion is supposed to mean or what you understand it to mean. That's why I say you stay in the question mode and you ask those 3 questions. Don't argue about the answers that you get. That's a tendency that people have, and that is to give your viewpoint of what you think the person is talking about or should be talking about, without them asking for your viewpoint. You'll want to avoid that. That's a big temptation. So if the person is talking about religion, You say, what does your religion require you to do? See what I mean? I'm going to go over it again briefly. What does your religion require you to do? And first of all, you want to know what is the name of your religion. And the person who gives that name, now you don't immediately start saying, well, that's not the way I understand it. No, listen to what the person is saying. You're talking to one person. You're not talking to the whole world. And you don't want to put your opinions into somebody else's religion. That's their religion. That's the religion that that person has chosen. So all you want to know is, ultimately, is just really one thing. How that person is going to treat you according to that person's religion. That's really what you're searching for. That's the bottom line. I don't care what kind of religion anybody has. I don't care what the history of it is. They don't even have to tell me, because I didn't even ask them that. I don't ask them about what their rituals are, whether or not they burn incense or anything like that. I just want to know how you're going to treat me. That's all. I'm not going to even ask them how they relate to whatever God they have. That's between them and their God, whichever it is. I just want to know, when I see you coming, what can I expect you to do where I'm concerned? That's all I want to know. Don't start telling me nothing else, because that's not important. You can tell me, and I might listen if I have time, but that's really not important. I just want to know what you're going to do when I come around. If you're going to, if the things that you do with me are going to be constructive, I don't need to know anything else about your religion, because your actions have proven to be satisfactory to me. That's all. Now, the history of your religion and what Bible you use, or whether or not your religion has a Bible or a holy book, the Quran or whatever it is, I mean, go right ahead and read it. I'm not going to argue about anything that's in it. In fact, I'm not going to even discuss it. See, that's an excellent way. When I start discussing your religion, and giving my opinions of this and that and the other, and what's written in it and all like that, what I'm going to get is an argument. I'm not looking for an argument.
Right.
I'm looking for interaction between me and that person that's going to have a constructive result, and that's all I'm looking for. And I think that if everybody in the world, that's why I'm belaboring this point, if everybody in the world takes that position when it comes to religion, then you won't have all this nonsense that's going on in Nigeria and places like that, where you have these bloodbaths that are going on even as we speak.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate the information, Mr. Fuller. I will also listen at the archive, but I have to get back into this meeting. And I really appreciate your work.
Thanks for, just listening to my views anyway. But like I said, just don't take that and run with it. Just think about it and use it if it makes sense.
Okay.
Have a great day. Okay, yes. Mr. Fuller, back to what I was trying to, what I was going to say before we had the caller. The Facebook feed and the black females. And I know that the situation that we are in and kind of what kind of created the situation, which I do want you to review that for us. But the sex tapes that are coming out and have come out with black women who are, over 40 with children, we're selling ourselves, and we're selling ourselves for pennies. I think she got $50,000 for a sex tape. I mean, the way that we degrade ourselves, how are we ever to, be looked at and taken seriously, in this world by other cultures? How will we ever be protected when it seems to me that we are, destroying ourselves? We're like our own worst enemy.
Well, the white supremacists have a plan for us because we don't have a plan for ourselves. Okay? This has always been. And in every area of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, the white supremacists have plans for their victims. You can't run a system of white supremacy without plans for the people that you're going to victimize. So, the most powerful government on the planet, the only one that really counts, is the system of white supremacy, which means mistreating people, dominating and mistreating people of color. That's what white supremacy is. To dominate them and to mistreat them while you're dominating them. And for what purpose?
Right.
Fun, glory, and material gain. These are the purposes.
Wow.
It's the business of white supremacy. That's the purpose of it. And they do it most efficiently.
Absolutely.
They have plenty of practice. Okay. And in the sexual realm, the 8th area of activity is listed in my book. They have plans for black people because black people don't have any sex plans for themselves. Just like we don't have any plans for economics or education or how we're going to entertain ourselves. Everything that we do is a reaction to the system of white supremacy. So the white supremacists tell us, now, what you black people should be doing sexually at this stage in history is devaluating the vaginas of black females. And we're going to have all kinds of sexual categories now for you people. We will start off saying that just male and female is not adequate. We need some other categories. Just like we're spreading the racial categories around, we've gone from 3 categories in the last 200 years or so to 21. We're going to have many categories of sexuality. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Some things that have never even been heard of. I mean, you know. And,
right.
And we're going to have you black people looking forward to doing all of it. And what it is for is to consolidate the control, even more so, of the white supremacists over the minds of black people. Sex is very powerful.
Yeah.
So when you can manipulate the sexuality of people to your program, you can dominate them even easier because sexuality is powerful. Anytime you take some of the most powerful elements among a people, and black people have a lot of sexuality, all right, a lot of it. So sex is powerful. So the white supremacists say, okay, we'll take some of the most powerful urges that black people have among them and disperse those urges in all kinds of directions in the way that we want them to go, so that they will be what? They will be confused about their sexuality. And we will do this. We better get started now because they're producing more babies and whatnot and all like that. So we want this in the minds of the young black people, too. And we'll start with some of the intellectuals first. We'll get some of the most intelligent black people to get on board with our dispersing their sexuality, so that they won't even know whether they're male or female in another 50 years. They won't know anything. They won't know what a vagina is for.
Wow.
They won't know what an anus is for. They won't know anything about sexuality. They'll just be all over the place. They'll be completely out of their minds in about 50 years, according to our program. But they don't see what we are doing because they don't see what we're doing when we do anything with them. I mean, we tell them what their economics is going to be, what kind of money to spend and on what, and you know, and how much they're going to make from us, because that's the only money that counts. Money that black people make all over the world doesn't count for anything. It's only when the white supremacists make money that they say this money is valued at such and such a thing. Anybody who can tell you what your money is worth can tell you what you are worth.
Right.
And they have complete control of that. So it's the same with the sexuality. They'll say, hey, you know, male and female, you're limiting yourselves. I mean, you don't want to just be that. Come on. I mean, it's a lot of things you can be. We got all kind of animals out here that we can pair you with. We'll be into that, too.
Oh, gosh.
You can look forward to it.
Please.
You can look forward to it. I just said it.
Yeah, just trying to... And
they're going to have us climbing the walls doing a little of everything.
Because I'm trying to envelop my mind around that whole thing, and it's just not wrapping around there. We have another caller, Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, caller.
Hello, can I be heard? Hello, thank you. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
It's my understanding that back in the late 1960s that you were mentioning to black folks that the white supremacists would attempt to have black males wearing dresses. My question was what you were observing at that time to that gave off that indication. And the reason that I asked that is because a few years ago, I was living down in the Hollywood section of Los Angeles in what they call California. And I was doing some film work. When I first moved out there, I had a white film producer give me some advice, telling me that no matter how far I got in my film career, to never wear a dress, and that the motion picture studios and other production studios were trying to have black males wear dresses. Also, in the neighborhood where I was living, I lived in a predominantly white neighborhood. Anytime I saw what I thought was a black female from a distance, after crossing paths with them, it was a black male who was, fully in what they call drag, looking like a woman. So I was just curious, Mr. Fuller, as to what you were noticing many years ago to give you this indication, and then also what is your advice as we move forward? Because obviously they're going to be refining this confusion technique.
What the white supremacists are doing, according to what I have seen them do, and back in early 1970s is when I really started talking about it. I was at Howard University, and I said that this was coming. And I said, eventually they will have you, because you can will, when talking about legalisms now, you could always will what your property to your cat, okay? Mm-hmm. Or your dog. I mean, a lot of very wealthy people did that. They'll say, I don't have any relatives, or the ones I have, I don't want to leave them anything, and I got this big mansion here. So, some white lady, usually would say, my cat is my faithful companion.
Yes.
So I'm willing all of my property to my cat. But see, the white supremacists, going back to what you might call the Roman Empire and Caligula and all like that, I mean, Caligula made his horse a senator.
Wow.
So, see, that type of mentality, they can say, hey, anything that seems like it doesn't make sense at all, I mean, dump it on black people. That's how we'll keep our power over them. Don't ever tell them anything or lead them in a direction that's going to be absolutely, purely constructive.
Wow.
Always, if it's going to involve black people, if you go over on the black side of town, do something that is tacky, trashy, or terroristic, because that's the mode that we want to keep them in, called the 3 T's. If it's not tacky, just kind of slap together, just whatever it is. I mean, if you're building a building, just kind of slap it together. It's going to be something not well put together, not very constructive. Your interactions, the way you talk with them, make it tacky.
Hold on, Mr.
They understand tackiness. They worship tackiness.
Right.
Anything that's tacky.
Keep your thought, Mr. Fuller. TalkTainmentRadio.com. Check us out on WCRS FM 98.3 Wednesdays and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Download TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell phone or tablet. We go where you go. Radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. Up next with Mr. Neely Fuller on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is the premier internet radio platform offering 40-plus talk radio-style programs professionally produced, optimized for online distribution, featuring Columbus, Ohio on-air personalities. TalkTainmentRadio.com offers listeners diverse programming options covering topics such as arts and culture, love, life and relationships, technology, religion, paranormal activities, local and national politics, women's issues, alongside health and wellness. Listeners can access their favorite TalkTainmentRadio.com programs free of cost through the website. Download the TTR app to your cell phone and you can take us wherever you go. We have programs on demand to fit your schedule through our podcast. The address is TalkTainmentRadio.com.
Join Choice-On Institute as it fuses African music with hip-hop and Caribbean dance. This year's concert entitled Cultural Movements Blended Music will be held at the Lincoln Theater in Columbus's historic King Lincoln District at 7:30 p.m. on May 16th and 17th. To purchase tickets in advance, please call Kappa at 614-469-0939 or visit the Institute at www.choiceoninst.org for discounted tickets through April 30th.
Hi, this is Michelle from the E. Michelle Lee Show on TalkTainmentRadio.com. Join me and TTR May 18th, 2014 as I host the first annual Walk to Cure FM Ohio at Wolf Park in Columbus, Ohio. 1K fun walk, 5K run. Brought to you by the National Fibromyalgia and Chronic Pain Association. A day of awareness filled with activities, education, inspiration, brunch awards ceremony, entertainment, and more. Special guest speakers, Tony Terry's wife, Ronnie Terry, a sufferer of fibromyalgia, and Jan Chambers, president of the NFMCPA, and me, E. Michelle Lee, your host. Join the event on Facebook, PR with a Purpose. Get the details all about the walk, how to register, everything you need to know for Sunday, May 18th, 2014, Wolf Park in Columbus, Ohio at www.prwithapurpose.com.
The Ohio Sickle Cell and Health Association celebrates April Minority Health Month and invites you to learn more about sickle cell disease. If you or someone you know has sickle cell disease, we urge you to learn more and take the time to know your hemoglobin status. Contact the Ohio Sickle Cell and Health Association at 614-228-0157. That's 614-228-0157. We invite you to visit our website at ohiosicklecell.org. Together, we can face and fight sickle cell disease.
If you don't clean up your room, the Board of Health is going to condemn it.
The Board of Health doesn't even know about your room. What's more, they don't care.
You know, if you keep making that face, it's going to freeze that way.
Not unless you're someplace really, really cold. Actually, a lot of the warnings moms hand out are a bit exaggerated.
If you don't get your blood pressure checked, you could have high blood pressure, not even know it, and you could die from a stroke.
But she's right about that one. Fact is, high blood pressure contributes to 200,000 American deaths each year, and a third of those who have high blood pressure don't know it. If they did, it'd be simple to treat. Call the American Heart Association at 1-800-AHA-USA1 or visit AmericanHeart.org on the web to learn more. Better still, ask your doctor to check your blood pressure.
If you run with those scissors,
it's the least you can do.
Calling African American Men to Excellence. April 30th, 2014, from 5 to 7 p.m. The conversation will be focusing on the fact that in popular media, so often African American men are portrayed only in the negative. And this discussion will be about recognizing and acknowledging that African American men are seeking excellence in many areas. In community service, in politics, in athletics, in education, in medicine, and across the board. And this is a discussion that we don't have very often, so you're invited to join us. You can register to attend Calling African American Men to Excellence, April 30th, 2014, from 5 to 7 p.m. The calling 614-754-7511 or emailing aamwwalk@gmail.com. The event is free.
Walk to Cure Fibromyalgia, Ohio, May 18th, 2014 at Wolf Park, Columbus, Ohio.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller. Woo! I got a mouthful that time. I think my lips were stuck together. We was on break too long, Ed. All right, Mr. Fuller, you were making a point before we had to pay a couple of the bills here.
Yes, ma'am.
Please continue.
And that's something you have to kind of watch me, too, because sometimes I start rambling. I have I'm trying to say so many things in such a short period of time. So I got away from the focus. The gentleman's question was what to do about it, because that's what I write about. I don't like just to talk about what the problem is, but I like to talk about mostly what to do about the problem. You have to know what the problem is, but you have to, we should be, this is 2014, talk about what an individual person can do. Okay, the white supremacists know that if black people start attacking each other about this sexual thing, that's going to create more confusion, which is what they're always looking for. They're always looking for black people to go at each other about religion, about money, about sex, about anything. Just as long as at the beginning and end of each day, black people's attention is directed at tearing each other apart. They don't care how you do it, just as long as that's what's going to be going on. So they got it all figured out that since we all have, people in our extended families, if some of us are not that way ourselves, people who are so-called bisexual, people who are so-called gay, people who are so-called transgender, or we have associates or business associates or people that we work with who fit that label, okay? Now, the white supremacists understand that. So, see, we don't want to go there by condemning them for what they are doing or saying anything against them personally. I mean, you work with people every day. I mean, people who you consider to be pretty nice people and whatnot. But they, they have their own idea about what to do with themselves when it comes to sex, okay? And you may not agree with what they are doing. So don't get into arguments about that with them. Our argument is always with the white supremacists and what they are doing with us. Because, see, they are turning this into a whole big new world order of sexuality for black people. Why are they doing this? Remember, in the 1960s, Martin Luther King died on that balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. What was he doing in Memphis, Tennessee? He was down there trying to get money for the garbage workers because they weren't getting enough money. That's the newspaper reports. The garbage workers were doing what? They were nearly all black males, for the most part, walking around with signs saying what? I am a man. As far as I could see, you could see people, some of them dressed in suits and ties and hats, and they were saying, I am a man. Okay? They're telling the world, I want a decent wage so that as a man, which is just short for manager, I can marry a woman, the womb of man, and take care of that woman, the womb of man, by having children that I can support. I can't do it with this wage that I'm getting. I'm being paid a boy's wage. You call me boy. You want to keep me a boy. So the white supremacists took a look at that after they shot Dr. Martin Luther King on that balcony, said, okay, along with killing him, supporting you in this all this endeavor of trying to be a man, you're going to be a boy as long as we can keep you there. Now, if you so-called men, you black males who want to go from boy to man, if you keep insisting on that, I'll make a deal with you. I will not allow you to ever be a man, because there's only one man in this house, the house being the entire world, and that man is white, okay? But if you black boys want to go from boyhood to manhood, I'm not going to let you. But I'll tell you, I'll make a deal. Tell you what I'm going to do. You can go from boy to woman. Now, if you put on a dress and start switching around like your sisters, and I'll have most of you raised up in a house full of nothing but females, so you'll learn how to put on the clothes and the lipstick and all of that. I mean, so sit there and watch your mother and your sister get dressed. You get dressed right alongside of them. I'll have maybe about 4 or 5 generations of you doing that. So you'll be real comfortable and walking behind your mothers and sisters looking just like them, acting just like them, twisting just like them, looking for a boyfriend like them, because that's what you hear them talking about on the phone. My boyfriend, my boyfriend, my boyfriend. All right? And so you'll be looking for some fella, a male, to come and pick you up and take you for a ride in your new high heels that you borrowed from your sister.
Oh, wow.
And you are a male. The white supremacists are very scientific in what they do. So they got a lot of us hooked at an early age. And, you know, we already know about the choirs in the church and all like that, see, and what all that's about. So they finance all of this. They support all of this. A couple of young white guys will move into the neighborhood, you might say, move across the street, right across from a black church. And they, you know, they move in and they are, you know, collegiate types. And they come over to the black church and they say, we would like to help you with your youth program. All right? And they got the money. I mean, and they know how to do things. They have talent. They come in there and they say, well, the way you're running your church, I mean, you know, it's not fostering anything. I mean, that you're going to not have growth here. Well, we can start keeping your books, I mean, and show you how to grow your church. And this lawn that you got out here, I mean, it's not well kept. I'm a horticulturist. And me and my buddy here, we can come over on weekends and we can make this lawn, I mean, look really outstanding. I mean, when people come through the neighborhood, they will be amazed at how wonderful this place looks, because it's kind of run down, see? And they will volunteer, you know. They say, we're trying to help the community. We moved in here and we want to help. And see, and then they get in charge of the little boys program.
Oh, that's true. We have two callers.
Now you begin to see, belatedly, you know, you want to know why your son is acting the way that he is when he comes home. I mean, he's beginning to act peculiarly. That's because these two white supremacists, which is what they are, when they do this type of thing, have infiltrated you right under your nose.
Absolutely. I want to go to the callers. We have, I think it's Jaylani.
Oh, I had just asked the question referring to black males in Hollywood. So thank you for answering my question, Mr. Fuller. And there's another caller who has a question.
Awesome. Toby, out of Detroit. Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Great.
You on the line?
I have a question for Mr. Fuller. You mentioned the 9 areas, like education, entertainment, things, economy. But one that I've always found interesting is that you never mentioned media. And as the previous caller mentioned with Hollywood and TV and the news and Facebook, all of those are forms of media and mind control. And I've noticed that black people consume an inordinate amount, even more than white, of this media, and it forms and shapes their opinions not only about each other, but about the rest of the world, about the system of white supremacy. And I wanted to know, does media fit anywhere within the 9 elements, or do you specifically exclude it for a reason?
So the question is media the influence or should be added to the 9 areas? The 9 areas is media. The 9 areas are what people do. Media is nothing but one person talking to another. That's media. It's nothing but communications. And people communicate all day long. I mean, people interact with each other. That's media. That's basic media. So just the instruments of what we call media, like radio and television and all like that, there's no such thing as the media as such. You know, I'm talking right now on through what I might call a telephone. And, that's just a name of an instrument that I use to communicate. And there are other things, microphones, there are iPods, there are television. These are just labels for people communicating with each other. So when you say media, you're just basically talking about people communicating. So the white supremacists are the masters of communication, so they can do it better and more efficiently than anybody. And so they communicate their message, and their message is something that's going to be supportive of white supremacy. And to the extent that they have anything to do with it, and they have something to do with everything that black people do, because we're subject to them, they steer all of the conversations, all of the advertising, all of the philosophies, all of the new customs that are going to be coming down the road toward how black people are going to be better controlled by the white supremacist system. They don't do anything that's not going to be supportive of the system of white supremacy. But they are in the refined stage, and they know how to make it look like they're dismantling the system of white supremacy. They are expert magicians when it comes to that. When they come around and say that we want to help you, we want to help you. You're having problems with your sexuality. You're having problems with your religion. You're having problems with your economy. You're having problems with your educational system. We want to help you. And when they start helping, on the surface, it will really look like they're really helping. And when they start out, just like a master con artist, a master con artist will start off always doing something constructive. Just like I gave that illustration about the two fellows who will come to the rundown black church and say, hey, we can fix this church up so it'll be a first-class church. We got the money to do it. And we're willing to put in the time. Not even your own people are willing to put in the time that we'll put in. I mean, and plus we are more efficient, apparently, than you people. I mean, we know how to do things and do them in a grand fashion. This is why you always want to move out of your neighborhood and move where we are. Why? Because it's better. Why is it better? Because we know how to make it better. You don't know nothing. All right? So we have mercy on you. We have pity on you. So we'll come to your side of town and show you how to really do something the way it ought to be done, so that you'll really appreciate it, so that you'll really feel good about yourself. And they'll start off actually doing that. And they'll do an excellent job. But then they got agenda number 2 right behind it. They know how to build you up on one side and to tear you down on the other. That's the strategy of the modern-day white supremacists.
Wow.
You better believe when they offer you something of value, they're getting ready to take away something that's even more valuable.
Mr. Fuller, and since we know this and we have people like you who have done the research, who know what the problem is, how do we, the information is at the top. How do we pass it down to the least of us? That's my thing. We have solutions. We know what the problems are. We have the solutions. How do we get the solutions to the least of us?
Just by what we're doing. We're doing it right now. That's it. It's not rocket science. The way to get to the truth is to reveal it. Every chance you get.
But I feel as if, it sometimes can be rocket science, and then, I don't know. I don't want to feel like, because I'm new at this, you've been in this fight for a very long time. And I don't want to get burned out feeling like what we're trying to do is not helping, because we have small pockets of people who, like you say, are revealing the truth, are understanding, able to, like you said, walk it and talk it and live it out. And then you have the other populace of us, like I said earlier, still releasing sex tapes and, watching Real Wives of Hollywood and all these other little places and things like that.
I'm going to try to get right to the point.
Okay.
You can cut through all of that. It doesn't take a long time, and like I said, it's not rocket science. You just simply, I always tell people, you don't have to preach the truth. And you don't have to really teach it. All you got to do is just state it. The truth has a way of spreading like wildfire. That's just the nature of the truth against falsehood. I mean, like the little boy, they told us about the little story that you learned maybe in 3rd and 4th grade. the emperor who had no clothes or something like that, the emperor's new clothes.
Yeah.
Everybody was out there talking about the emperor's new clothes when the emperor didn't have on any clothes. But everybody had been brainwashed to think that the emperor had on some fine clothes. So the little boy who hadn't heard about the emperor was going to be in that parade with all these fine clothes on, when the emperor didn't have on any clothes at all, because the people had been brainwashed before the parade that the emperor was going to have on these fine clothes, but this little boy didn't know. He hadn't heard the brainwashing. So he came down and looked through the crowd, and he says, "Oh, look at the king. Look at the king. The king is in the altogether." You know, and then the whole crowd burst out into laughter because they could see that the emperor didn't have on these fine clothes, that the emperor was absolutely naked.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't believe their eyes because they believed the propaganda. But one little boy spoke it. Now, that's all it takes when it comes to any truth. One person, people can stand there in front of an audience and lie all day long and have everybody going along with the lie. But one person can walk in and say, you know what, this person is standing up there saying that it's raining outside, and everybody is saying they're afraid to go outside because it's raining. I just came from outside. It's not raining. The sun is bearing down, and it's 90 degrees in the shade.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And then, right then, the people say, well, that's a different viewpoint. Because I've done it. I've been in crowds where it looks like the whole crowd is going along with what's being said, with one person back in the back that just got there and is not all hyped up on the propaganda says, hey, I don't think that's so. Now, the person is not even sure, but the person is giving another opinion. I don't think that's so. I think this is so. Now you start people to thinking, because for one thing, it's something about the truth that this seems to seep into stuff. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you just, all we really have to do is just say, hey, who's behind all of this stuff that's going on? We see what's going on the surface, and we are, you know, chomping at the bit to jump on the black women who are out here, I mean, shaking and doing this and selling themselves and all like that. But wait a minute. They weren't born doing this. So who's really behind this? And I'm always saying, anything that seems like it may be non-constructive that you see black people doing, immediately go to the usual suspects. That's what we do. And that's what I do. I say, wait a minute. This looks like something that the usual suspects has come up with. Almost anything that I see black people are doing has got a question mark on it. It doesn't even have to be something destructive.
Mm-hmm.
But if it looks like it might be leading to something destructive, I always say, hey, let's check this out and see what the white supremacists have to do with this. Or if there are some white supremacists that have to do with it. Because the assumption should always be that anything that you see black people doing that may have a question mark behind it, always suspect that it's a plot by the white supremacists and be willing to say so to the whole world. Always say, you know, and the term that you actually use exact terms, say the usual suspects, just like in the movie Casablanca. Say, hey, this looks like something concocted by the usual suspects. But they'll say, what are you talking about, fella? Mm-hmm. Who are the usual suspects? The white supremacists. It looks like another one of their schemes. Oh, yeah, but you don't have any proof of that and all that. I'm saying I suspect it. I don't have the proof, no. But I suspect it because it could be something destructive. Yeah, but it hasn't proven to be destructive so far. Yeah, so far. But I don't know what's going to happen when we turn around the corner. You know, the usual suspects always throw out some bait, just like catching a fish.
Mm-hmm.
They always throw black people something that looks like it's good on the surface.
Right.
And then 50 years later, it turns out to be something that's totally poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're 50 years behind wrestling with that poison. Anytime they come down the pike, you should have one thing in mind. We're talking about what to do about things now. When I see them coming, this is a part of the code. When you see people coming, I'm not talking about all white people, but when you see white people approaching you with anything, any kind of new fad, anything, any kind of something that's going to help you, always have in your mind, here they come. What are they up to now? That should be on every black person's lips on the entire planet. Here they come again. What are they up to now? That should be your mindset.
Right.
Now, you'll have white people who say, oh, that's a terrible attitude to have. No, it isn't. Because if you're coming there to do something that's going to be constructive, we should be the first, after it's proven to be constructive, after we're running through every type of test, and we've seen, hey, this is really constructive. Hey, we should be the first to stand up and say, hey, we were suspicious of you, but that suspicion is gone because you have proven yourself to come with a constructive intent. You didn't approach us this time like you approached the Indians and everybody else. I mean, you know, talking about Thanksgiving, all the rest of it, and grabbing everything. I mean, as soon as the day has passed. I mean, you didn't do that this time. So we will thank you for what you have done because you have proven that you're not trying to fool us again. You have proven that you are not trying to fool us again. So now let's move on to the next thing, you know, and that's what we tell them. Let's move on to the next thing and then the next thing and the next thing and see if you will be consistent in doing something constructive among black people because your record shows that you usually build us up to tear us down. Just like you've got this squabble going on now about affirmative action again after all these years. Now you're tinkering with it again. That's in this morning's paper, is it not?
Right.
This is 2014 in April. Now, that affirmative action thing was supposed to have been settled a long time ago. Now, here we come again, full circle. Are we going to have to start fighting, to get off the back of the bus again in another 50 years?
Right.
See, the white supremacists do that kind of stuff. I call it cycle racism. They'll take you on a long arc, and you make a great big circle and come right back where you started from 80 years later.
Wow, this has been so enlightening. I so enjoy this. Every time I'm with you, I learn so much, and I so appreciate you. Because just listening to you has to bring me back, and so I can get through another week, without losing my mind. So thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you to all of the callers.
This is what you call sanity. We're always trying to be more sane
and
more humane.
That's
and
right.
We're not, it's not a matter of just beating up on white people or nothing like that. We're just trying to make a world of justice. That's all.
Absolutely.
Like Martin Luther King was saying.
And I thank you, and we'll be right back here next Wednesday at 10 a.m. This is TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard.
You've got the power, the world's greatest radio, TalkTainmentRadio.com.